Hi guys, welcome to Code Decode. So today we will be covering the second part for the Spring Boot usually asked interview questions, and we will be covering the actuator, how to create custom actuator endpoints and many more such topics. So let's get started without further delay. So the very first thing that an interview may ask you that what is Spring Actuator, why did you use it in your project, and what were the advantages that you faced using actuator in your project. So if you can first initiate that particular answer that actuator in the real term is a manufacturing term actually, which is used for referring to mechanical devices for moving or controlling something. So basically, it is used for controlling some functionality. So you can get an idea that it is used for controlling anything. Now actuator can generate large amount of motion from a small change. Now this is not that important. You can always use this particular first thing that mechanical devices term is used for making or controlling some changes. So when it comes to Spring Boot, actuator is nothing but an additional feature that helps you control, manage and monitor your application, especially when it is pushed to production. So I'll tell you how in a few seconds, but understand this first that in Spring Boot, actuator is nothing but a feature to control your application when it is actually pushed to production environment. So these feature actually includes like auditing your health of your application, the matrices, as in how many hits did you get on your HTTP open endpoints or the REST endpoints that you have exposed to the clients, and how many clients with what parameters did actually hit your HTTP requests or REST requests in your application on production, because hitting your server on production is something a costlier task. It actually costs you bugs or money from your pocket. So that is why understanding all those features on production is very important, and controlling those features are also very important. So these features are actually included with actuator in Spring Boot. So this is something which is a boon when you have a big application, and whether it is deployed to production and nothing is remaining in your hand. It is all based on what actuator gives you as an endpoint, and you can see what things are actually working, how healthy is your application working on your production environment. So I'll show you how this actually works. Just a second. Let me discard this for you. So this is how, if you have a production environment, you have a server there, you just put your server name here, your server port here, and then actuator here. You will get all the available endpoints, and with the health you can see that on production server your application is up. So even if you don't have any access to your production URLs or anything, you can always see whether your application is up or not using the status, using the health matrices or the endpoint, which is actually inbuilt functionality given by actuator to you. So this is just a snapshot. I'll show you how it is working and what all endpoints does in default you get for your application. But as of now, understand this is how you can use your Postman. This is how you can use your production server. Currently I'm using my local host, but you can always use your production server's URL and the port number, and /actuator is a default path which is allowed or given to you. And this is how I'll show you can initiate your actuator thing in your Spring Boot project. So how did you use Spring Boot actuator in your application? So what you have to do is to just add this dependency. Simple as that. A very simple thing to initiate a actuator in your Spring Boot application. Nothing will be as simple as that. So this is my Spring Boot starter actuator dependency that I have added. My workspace is getting built. I'll clean and I can run this for you once it is cleaned. Okay, so I'll debug or run. I'll first run my code for you. Okay, so if you can see, starting the application on 8080 simple, and now I'll try to hit this for you and says the status is up. Now I was telling you that /actuator is something by default you get if you don't have actuator dependency as added in your Spring Boot project form. then you will get 404 or 500 or any type of error which you get when the particular endpoint is not exposed. So if you don't have an actuator, you will get an error, HTTP errors with the different status codes. But here, because I have added the dependency, I can see that my actuator is working, and whenever it is actually deployed to production, you can see that you have different URLs which is exposed by default by Spring Actuator for you. So one is actuator, another is, just a second, health, third is information, and just the three I have currently. So I can say /health, and I can see that my status is up at the production moment or currently at my local. So this is as simple as that. Now let me do one thing for you. Whenever I hit this particular thing, I can see you will be able to see this without doing anything, just because of this dependency. So if interview asks you how did you use actuator in your Spring Boot application, just say that I have added one single thing, that is one dependency, and everything gets running for me, which is nothing but a Spring Boot starter actuator dependency, and actuator is enabled by default in my Spring Boot application. I hope this much is clear. Please let me know in the comment section if you find any issues. Let me proceed further. Now actuator endpoints, this is how by default actuator is exposed on your Spring Boot application. But now I want to explicitly include some endpoints, web endpoints on my application. So what I will do, I'll just add this property file in property in my property file, and you can see the change that you have many more web endpoints exposed explicitly. So let me show you what all is exposed currently. So you can see only three things are exposed: health with a particular health with a particular information or a path, and an info is also exposed. So I'll show you how info looks to you. It's currently empty because I haven't implemented any information here yet. So these three are not that beneficial for me when it goes to production. I want to know what beans are included, what all environments are created. So what I will do, I'll just expose this through my application. I'll close my server and I'll start it again for you with this particular property running, where I want all my web application exposed, web endpoints exposed. So it says it started. So let me see whether it's making any changes. So if you can see now, you can see that multiple beans are actually exposed. Just a second. Now when I open the beans URL, you can see that I have singleton bean. So if you can see here, I have multiple beans created, right? So I've created one controller, if you remember, for you. So this is my code decode controller. So I want to know that whether the bean has been created for this or not. So I can always go here. I can always find my controller. And you can see that you can have 20 results created, but these are internal controller handlers for me. Now you can see here that I have my code decode controller created here. So this is my code decode controller. It says that the type is this com code.decode Spring Boot application controller. So com code decode Spring Boot application controller. So you can see that yes, my controller bean is actually exposed completely, and it is, the bean is created here, and the bean is available in actuator/bean. So this is very important when it goes to production. You can see whether by using, if you might have forgot to use @rest controller or something like that, then the bean would not have been created by Spring. So this is very important when it goes to production. You can see that what all beans are created and what all beans are not created, and you can find out your own mistakes, and you can always deploy it again, finding out the mistakes you have done on production environment. So that was an importance of the exposure and include everything. Now I want only health and information to be available, and rest all should be declined. I don't want environments or other like things available to me. So what I can do for that? Okay, so I have environments also. So let me first show you environment here. So it says that on my environment, it says that I have my Devil application, Devil profile available. I have my server port 8080 available, and many more things that I can't show you as of now. It's my configuration part. So basically all your configuration, you try doing it by yourself. You will see your configurations and environment variables available for your application in this particular request. So this is how environment endpoint, which is the default endpoint, works. So basically these are 3 or 4 important endpoints that are exposed: health, info, environment, and beans. Now there are multiple available for you, so I'll leave this to for you to expose, because like explore, because I have much more things to cover ahead. Okay, now with this you understood that when web exposure is given to everything, you have multiple things available as a web endpoints for you. Now if you want to select only selected endpoints, you can always use with a comma separated thing, and those will be exposed with the comma. All those which are included with these comma separated will be exposed to you. Now I've already shown you how environment works. It will give you all the environments which is available for you, like what is the server port, what is the server profile, what is the Spring profile that you're using. Every environment you will be able to see as a output. I've already shown you that. And also 8080, like currently my local, and beans is what this particular link exposes all the beans, which I've already shown you like few seconds back. What all beans are created for you, I've given an example of a controller which is created for you. So that was all I have for the default endpoints. Let me go ahead for the HTTP endpoint, which is a very important part of this particular actuator, because this is a very tricky question. Now, if you have answered an interviewer that you have used Spring Boot before 2.2.x or 2.2.1, 2.2.2, something like that, then just by exposing everything also exposes your HTTP trace. But it is not true when it comes to the Spring Boot which you're using is after 2.2.x. So let me show you what I am using. Close this. Okay, so when I go to my pom.xml, it says that I'm using 2.2 higher version. So it's 2.3.4. So when I try running this, you can see that HTTP trace was not exposed at all. Only information, bean, and health was exposed to me. So how did I make sure that my HTTP trace is also exposed as a default endpoint in my application, Spring Boot application? So what happens is, before 2.2.x, you can use this particular property that I have used for you already, include all, and your HTTP trace will work automatically by default. It is a default implementation given by Spring Boot to you as a boon. But after 2.2.x, they have decided that they will not provide you HTTP trace at all by default. And this is not a bug which is in the Spring Boot application, but rather it is a legitimate change, or a change done explicitly by the people who are working at Spring Boot, basically, because the default implementation actually captures your HTTP requests and load that particular data, like how many requests, like actually 100 HTTP requests and responses is actually stored in your memory, in your server's memory. And now you won't actually know that this is happening, but actually your memory gets consumed in a very pretty costly manner, and your memory is actually feeded with the 100 HTTP requests and responses the people or the clients hit to your server. Now you know that memory is nothing but a very pretty costly precious thing for you. So that is why this feature is by default turned off for you by default, and now you can turn it on explicitly if you want to actually use HTTP traces, like what clients are actually hitting your REST APIs and all, using the HTTP trace repository bean. So it is like difficult to understand, but it is as simple as to implement. So let me give that example to you first. So if I say actuator and I hit this particular thing, you can see that only like beans, environments, and everything are exposed, but there is no HTTP trace. So if I try to find HTTP for you, you won't find HTTP trace, sorry, you won't find it at all. So basically this is 0 for you. HTTP were giving results, but HTTP trace is not giving any result to me, because HTTP trace is actually not exposed currently to you by default, because I'm using a version higher than 2.2.x. I've shown you that, right? So what I have to do, I have to just create a bean of HTTP trace repository, which is nothing but a in-memory repository. And in-memory repository does nothing but creates a memory where your 100 HTTP requests and responses will be stored. So how do I do that? So I've actually coded that for you. So this is nothing but my code where I'll create a configuration class for you. In in the main itself, I'll create a class which is nothing but a configuration class for you. Sorry. And I'll make the name as configuration class, because this particular class has my configuration bean for me, right? So once I've created this, let me do one thing. I'll paste everything here. It says that it is @configuration. It is creating a bean. So this is what I've told you, right? You just have to create a bean for HTTP trace repository. So I've created a bean for in-memory HTTP trace repository, and this is enough for me to get my HTTP traces available on my REST services at the /actuator endpoint, right? So let me start this for you after creating this. Now, once it is started, I'll try to hit it and I'll try to find HTTP trace, and you can see that I find HTTP traces here. So let me click this for you and let me send this. So you can see that yes, I get some traces here. Let me scroll down for you. Initially I was not getting HTTP traces, but just by creating an in-memory HTTP trace repository bean, I was able to trace what all hits are done. So you can see I've already hit /HTTP AT actuator, which was one of my hits I've done previously after making the changes before hitting this. So you can see that I have the trace actually with it, and I have the response also. It says that 200, it is active, and what all responses I've got and what all user agent I have used to hit that particular request. So I hope that much is also clear to you. Let me move ahead and I can show you that now for this much thing is clear to you. If you have doubt in HTTP traces, let me know in the comment section. Now let me please move ahead forward for making the changes to this URL. So you can see that by default I have to use /actuator always for hitting any of these endpoints which is available to me as an HTTP endpoints or over the HTTP protocol which is available. Now I don't want to use /actuator as the basic endpoint by default given by Spring Actuator starter dependency to me. So what will I do to make this change? So interviewer may ask you that if actuator is already used in my existing API, how can I make sure that these management endpoints, the actuator default endpoints are changed? So if you get my question clearly, it says that by default all endpoints are actually given with the /actuator suffixed one. Now if I have this in my existing customized REST APIs, I have this /actuator as my path, then what do you expect me to change this management path? So you don't have to do anything. You just have to go to your properties file. In that property file, you just have to write that please make my management endpoints to start with the suffix of /manage. So now my /actuator will actually not work. Rather than that, all the endpoints that I've shown you earlier will be exposed over /manage endpoint. So let me show that to you once the application is started. So it says yes, it is started. So let me show you with actuator. It says that it is not found. Why? Because I've changed this path to manage. So let me do one thing for you. I'll remove /actuator and I've used /manage. So let me copy that for you and let me paste it here. Now if I send, can you see all your things are available at /manage? So this is very important tricky question that interviewer will ask you, that if you're using actuator in your project for production available and applications, then how can I make sure that the default /actuator suffix for the URLs that you are exposing as an endpoint is changed So you can always use a particular property in your property file where your management endpoints web base path is changed to whatever you give in your application file. So it is as simple as that. And now the new URLs will have /manage rather than /actuator. It will give you 404 as I've already told you as a error. Now I want that all the management server port, like currently what is happening here, you can see is that my application is running as 8080, right? So this is 8080 where all my manage endpoints are also working and my Spring application is also working. So I don't want that particular thing to happen. So if you can see, initially it was working on 8080. So my application is also working on 8080, all my controllers are also working at 8080, and all my management endpoints like actuator endpoints are also working at 8080. I don't want to work it at 8080. I want my management to be worked at 8090. So what I can do for making those changes? So you just have to add this particular thing in your property file. Sorry, let me do that for you. So I want my management server port should be at 8090. So let me start the application server for you to make sure that now my actuator or the actuator endpoints are not working at 8080 but actually at 8090. So it says that Tomcat is started at 8080 but exposing 14 endpoints for the management at 8090. So if I try to 8080 manage, it says 404 not found, and if I do 8090 for you, it says that all your endpoints are now available at 8090. So this is as simple as that. Spring Boot actually makes your life so easy for you. Just by making these changes to the property files is what is required for you. Just make these web-based path and management points available. So that I believe that much is clear to you. Now a very important question, how to make custom endpoints for an actuator. So this is very important concept, because if you are using your endpoint, you might want that some of your endpoints are exposed which are not inbuilt given to you, but actually you want some like suppose you have some databases, right? Suppose you have an employee table. Now you want to see the complete employee view in your like JSON format in your postman or the response in a particular HTTP request. So what you can do, you can always expose a particular actuator endpoint, custom actuator endpoint, and hitting that particular endpoint, you will see like your database has how many rows, your database is empty, or any client has created an account to your databases, because database is again a costly stuff. It is price, it has some price associated with it. Every database hit gives you a buck into your a hole into your pocket, right? So handling those database operations and how much database is actually consumed is also an important thing. So what you can do is you can just do two things to create an custom endpoint. You just have to use @endpoint. See, I'll create a one custom endpoint to you so that it will be clear. Now I'll create a custom endpoint for you. I'll name it as, I've already created one for you, so I'll name it as custom actuator. And in this custom actuator, I don't have to do anything but use two annotations which are very important. That is @endpoint. Now this is how you will expose your custom endpoint, and @read operation. So basically it says that with @read operation, it says that the particular HTTP GET is actually exposed to the client, and you are actually just fetching anything. You are not making any changes to application. If you do HTTP write operation, then you are making some changes to the application or posting something. Delete is you are trying to delete something from your application. So just two simple operations and your custom actuator is started for you. So let me show you how your custom actuator works. And I'll show you how you have created it. So I've launched it again at 8090, remember, right? So now in the 8090 manage, what I will do, I will just try to hit my custom actuator link which is exposed over endpoint. Okay, so you can see that we get unexpected G. That is because we are expecting the response should be application slash JSON, but here I have given the response as a string. That is why my Postman is not able to understand this give DB status of the application. That is why I'm trying to make it the text, and you can see that my custom actuator is perfectly working fine. By just using @endpoint and @read operation, I'm able to read the DB application status, which I have not shown you currently. I'll mix it with Hibernate in some videos and I'll show you how it actually works. But this is how you can create your own custom actuator. And you can actually use it as a REST endpoint or the HTTP path as /custom actuator here, and you can see that your data is available here either in the form of application /JSON if you're using a particular object, or as a text XML if you're returning some string or something like that. So this is as simple as that. Creating custom actuator is also as simple as that. You just have to do @endpoint, and you can use either the read operation or write operation or delete operation according to what changes you're doing to your application using that particular endpoint. So I believe that much is clear to you. Let me quickly move ahead on the second question on how to deploy your Spring Boot web application as a jar or as a war. So this is a very simple question that an interviewer might ask you, is that if you're using a Spring Boot application, how are you making your packaging in the application? How are you actually packaging your application when you have to deploy it to some higher environments like Devil or production or cert environment or qual environment? How are you actually deploying that particular application? So you just have to say that in my pom.xml, I have given a particular packaging thing. So I'll show you how. I'll give you one example from here itself. Okay. So if you can see, this is a packaging tag that you can use. Okay. So this is how you can actually say that how my application should be packaged. It should be packaged as war or jar using a tag in pom.xml which says how your application should be packaged. So, but for this particular thing to work, you terribly need one plugin. Otherwise, this thing will not work. And what is that plugin which I have involved always with this particular application, which is build. So how do I want my application to be built? So for building, we need a plugin, which is Maven, Spring Boot Maven plugin. Using this plugin, Maven understand that you want your Spring Boot application to be packaged as war application. So I hope that much is clear. To deploy an application, you just have to use this plugin, and using that plugin, your jar will be in execution phase, in a packaging phase, not an execution phase. Whenever it is in packaging phase, all the required libraries and dependencies will be packaged as in a polythene for you, and it will actually use either the jar or war, whatever you set as an parsed element in your pom.xml file. So I hope that much is clear. Let me move ahead to the next question quickly. Now this is a very important question which one of the viewers or audience has actually asked me to cover, that what are the advantages of YAML file over the property file. So till now what I've covered till now is using the .properties file, right? So in .property file, you can see everything is in one single line, this dot this dot this. And whenever you try to use something, you just use this dot this as a value, and you can use that particular server port here. Now a very important part is that many of the people prefer YAML file over property file. So first, going to this question like why to use YAML file, I'll show you how to use YAML file. So whenever in your application, whenever you go into some, so this is an application I've created for you. Okay, so let me close everything so that it's not difficult for you to understand. Now I have this YAML file created for you. So it says that my server port should be 8080 and my profile should be prod. So this is how your YAML file looks. It's like key value pair where you have hierarchical structure rather than this dot this. So if you can see here, I had my pom.xml. This I have my application.properties where everything was like this dot this in a straight hierarchy. In YAML file, you have in this hierarchy, this dot this is the key value pair basically. So if you understand, if you want me to cover the YAML concepts, I'll cover that in a video later on, because the time is running out. I have to cover all the interview questions, important interview questions. So let me cover it, how the YAML actually looks to you. This is how the YAML looks to me. Currently my application.property is completely empty. I've commented this for you. So my YAML says that production environment should be used at 8080. By default the port is 8080. I have made my property file to 8081. So if I run this particular thing, you will be able to find that my application is running at 8081 and not 8080 like it was used to run on 8080 by default. So but for making this change, a very important thing is that you have to use this property source factory, because by default application.property is taken by Spring application as your default property file, but it does not understand YAML extension. So how to make sure that my YAML file is read as a property giver for my application? So you just have to create one simple class which implements the property source factory, and I'm using YAML property factory bean as a way to convert my resources in YAML format to Java util property object. This is how whenever you create a particular YAML file, what you do is you just try to get that particular file converted into the properties file, and hence you are setting that as a resource to your factory and you are using it in your application. So this is how I do it. You create a property source, and how do I call it? So in this particular class, you just have a Spring Boot application. You have your property created here, and you have everything in your YAML file as a property object here. Now in the controller, I want to use a particular property. So what you used to do here was, in the previous example that I've shown you, what you used to do in your controller is you just use @property, @value, and use that property in a particular private string and use it here. So it was as good as that. I've shown you in the previous part 1 video how do you actually use a property from a properties file. This was a properties file I had. Right now a thing is different. I don't have a property file, I have a YAML file. Now I want to use anything from a YAML file, so I first have to actually use configuration properties. So it says that I have my configuration properties as a YAML file, and my property source @property source is a tag given by Spring application to you, which actually by default use your application-xyz properties as a input to you. But now @property file, I have to make sure that it does not pick the application.property file, it rather use application.yaml file, this application.yaml file in my controller, and I have to use the factory that I've created for you as this particular class, the YAML property file, which implements the property source, which makes sure that your properties in this is converted into Java util properties object and you can use it in your application. So this is as simple as that. And when you hit this particular /code decode, you can see your active profiles here. So let me start this application for you to make sure that you understand how YAML works. Okay, so it says prod because in the YAML file it was prod, if you remember. And it started on 8081. So I'll show you where it was. So here in the property file, it was 8081 and prod was there. So you would have seen there, right? So now if I hit 8081, you can see it is initiated and completed. But my controller was exposed at /code decode. So if you can see, if I hit this /code decode, you can see there is nothing printed here because I have done system.out.println. It says Spring profile is prod. So can you see, this is as simple as that. This is how I've printed Spring profile is prod, and prod is from where it is picked. It is picked from here, the Spring profile active. Why? Because I've used Spring profile active as my value, and this value is only working because of @property source, which is picking from the class path application.yaml file that I have created using the property source, because YAML file is not understood by a Spring application. To make it understand that Spring application should have for sure a property file, which is the properties which is picked from YAML. You have to use a property source factory which implements the property for source factory, which converts your factory bean in a YAML format into the properties object. So I hope that much is clear. If you have any doubt in the YAML application or the YAML property file, please let me know in the comment section. I'll make it a complete different video using the YAML properties and making all the CRUD operations with the database for you for that particular thing. Now, if you understand how YAML works, you must know the advantages of using YAML file over property file, because if you go to the interview and say that in my Spring Boot application, we don't use property file, we use YAML file, because then he'll always ask you why did you use that. If the property file is already available, you don't have to use extra things like property source, explicitly tell them that please read this YAML file, and you have to use the factory to make sure that your properties given in the factory or the YAML file is converted into your properties object, and then you are using it. Why do you do this much extra thing if you already have the application.properties available? So you should have an answer to that. So the answer to that is that YAML file is always have more clarity and more readability for the human purpose. Secondly, it has a perfect hierarchical configuration data, which is also represented for a better and more readable format. So if you can see here, everything was in single line. Everything was here like single line. Here you have hierarchical data, which is much more readable. So it says that Spring, into that we have a profile, into that we have an active, and the value for that is key value pair, something like that. So it is more readability, more hierarchical data is available. It supports map, list, and scalar type. I can always use something like dash and use the map and set as an array, basically this like this like this. You can always use multiple values for it, but when it comes to your application.properties file, you will always have one flat data. You will not have the set and the arrays available to you as a property. You will always have to put a logic here to put a comma and then separate that in your Java using the comma separated values and use that. So hierarchical representation is available in YAML, and support for list, map, and scalar type is there in YAML and not in flat hierarchy in the property file. If you want more onto this, please let me know in the comment section. I'll show you how properties work with maps and list in YAML files. That is nothing related to Spring Boot. It is related to YAML. So let me know in the comment section. I'll create another video for that. Now, how are the different ways to load your YAML file in the Spring Boot application? The only way to what I have used is using the YAML property bean factory, which converts your formatted YAML resources into your properties object. But there's also one more where you can load using the map bean factory, which loads your YAML file as a key value pair as a map. I'll show that in the next video. If you want me to show that, let me know in the comment section. Else, please, you can go ahead and explore it on your own. What I have used is to use as a bean factory, as a property bean factory, and I'm using it as a properties object here. Now the last and a very important question is, like, when you have in your application a YAML file and a properties file, then it like Spring Boot will give advantage to whom? To the .property file or to the YAML file? So the answer to this is that always preferences will be given to application.properties file. And how can I make that sure? Because currently you can see that my application was at prod. Now, if I uncomment this particular property for you and say that my application should run on Devil rather than prod, then Spring Boot will become biased. It will say that no, application.property is what I will give preference to, and I will set my application to Devil rather than prod. So how can I make, how I'll show you is, you can see currently that it is prod. Currently the active profile is prod. Now I have shut this down and I have given this property of Devil. Now I'll save this and I'll run this again for you. And now you can see that my active profile is Devil and not prod. So this is a very important interview question. The person may ask you like who's given up more preferences, the YAML file that you're using or the property file. So Spring Boot always prefer the property file. So that's all I have for today, and the like timeline is also getting past to it. If you want more such questions, please let me know in the comment section. I'll always create the third part for you, covering more such questions, interview questions for the Spring Boot for you. Thank you.